Ever wish you had like a spiritual safe room, a place to go when life gets overwhelming, you know? Not just physically, but like a refuge for your heart and mind.
Hmm.
Well, today we're diving into a passage many see as that kind of fortress, Psalm 91.
Oh, Psalm 91. It's filled with such comforting imagery, isn't it? Shelter, feathers, angel.
It's like a greatest hits of spiritual comfort, but there's more to it than just pretty words, right?
Absolutely. What I find so intriguing is that it doesn't just offer comfort, but calls us to action. That very first verse, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High. It's an active choice.
Dwelling. It's not just believing, it's like settling in and making yourself at home in God's presence.
Exactly. And that's not always easy, is it? Especially with the busyness of life.
Right. It's easier said than done. So how do we actually dwell in God's presence? It's, work, family, the constant to-do list. It can't be as simple as just reading a verse a day, can it?
You're hitting on something important. It's about cultivating that awareness of God's presence throughout the day. Could be prayer, could be meditation, could even be just taking a moment to pause and breathe.
Just that moment of recognition, right? Like, okay, I'm not in this alone.
Exactly.
And speaking of not being alone, Psalm 91, it doesn't hold back on describing God's power, does it? Most High, Almighty. These aren't just casual titles.
No, they point to absolute authority, sovereignty over every challenge, every fear.
But here's what gets me right alongside that strength. There's this tenderness. God's a shelter, a place of refuge.
That's what makes this psalm so powerful, I think, that duality,
Mm.
strength and tenderness.
Yeah, it's like how a parent can discipline a child but also comfort them. It's both at once. And you know what else strikes me about Psalm 91? It doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. It names those fears. Terrors of the night. Errors by day.
Yeah. We might not have literal arrows flying around today,
Hopefully not.
but we've got our modern equivalents, right? Stress, uncertainty. Those anxieties are universal.
Absolutely. Times change. But that need for comfort, for security, it's timeless.
And the psalm, it doesn't just, acknowledge those fears. It offers something to hold on to, an antidote.
It promises we won't have to go through it alone, right?
Exact.
That's where those amazing verses about protection come in, right? 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. Wow. Powerful stuff.
It's God's presence in the middle of chaos,
Yeah.
Like even surrounded by trouble, you can find refuge.
You said earlier this protection isn't automatic, though. We have to choose it.
Yeah.
What does that look like practically, especially when we're dealing with those real-life challenges? Is it saying a prayer? Or is it more than that?
It's more like a heart thing. Surrendering to God's will, really acknowledging that he's in control, and then trusting his goodness, even when things are tough.
So less of a magic formula, more of a trust in his plan, even when we can't see the whole picture.
Exactly. And, that trust, that letting go, it can be so powerful, even in uncertainty. It reminds me of the part about angels, messengers, protectors, carrying out God's will.
Yes. The angel squad, always love that imagery. It's comforting, but what's the deeper meaning there? What's their role, really?
Yeah, they're more than just, cute little cherubs. Scripture often describes them as these powerful spiritual beings acting on God's behalf.
Mhm.
Like, think of the angel who appeared to Daniel, giving him strength and helping him understand things, or the angels who were there for Jesus in the wilderness.
So not just sweet images, but real spiritual forces working out God's purpose. And speaking of facing things head on, there's that line about treading on the lion and the cobra that's intense, feels almost like an action movie. What's the deeper meaning there?
It's about overcoming, those obstacles and fears we face.
Mm-hmm.
The lion and cobra, they represent those things that try to stop us, hold us back from living how God intends.
Which could be external things like a tough job situation or even internal struggles like self-doubt, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the verse reminds us that with God, we can overcome all of it, the internal and external. We have that strength within us.
It's a powerful visual. We don't have to cower. We can rise above those challenges. It's like building a spiritual resilience, knowing we're not alone in this.
Yeah, and it's not just the outward victories, it's the internal battles too, right? Those doubts, anxieties, they can hold us back just as much as anything else.
Totally. It's about stepping into that identity the psalm talks about. Beloved, protected, cared for. And that leads us to those last few verses. The tone shifts, becomes really personal, intimate. It's not about rules anymore. It's about relationship.
It's about God's love for us, purely and simply. Because he loves me, I will rescue him, I will protect him. It's so powerful. It goes beyond just listing what God does, and gets to the core of our connection with him.
Yeah, it's like realizing someone loves you just for you,
Yeah.
flaws and all. There's such peace in that, knowing you're loved like that.
Absolutely. That kind of love, it pushes out fear, gives us strength for
Mm.
anything.
So we've explored a lot in Psalm 91. Amazing promises, powerful images.
Mhm.
How do we take all of this and actually live it? It's one thing to appreciate the poetry, but how do we bridge that gap and make it real in our everyday lives?
That's the question, right? For me, it starts with really taking the message to heart. What verses speak to you most? Write them down, reflect on them, make them part of your thoughts.
Like creating a Psalm 91 playlist for your soul, right?
Exactly. Just like a song can shift your mood, these words, they can recenter you, remind you of what's true, even when things are chaotic.
Love that. And as you revisit those verses, connect them to your own experiences, times you felt God's protection or his guidance through a tough situation.
Yes. Those moments become your own personal proof.
Mm.
Those promises aren't just wishful thinking, they're reality.
It's like we build our own faith stories that way, proof that it's real.
And when we share those stories,
Yeah.
it strengthens everyone, reminds us we're not alone in this.
It's like a tapestry of shared experiences woven together by faith and by God's love.
Beautiful. What a great image to end on. A sense of shared hope, shared encouragement.
Absolutely. Renewed appreciation for Psalm 91 and its message of protection.
And until next time, may you dwell in peace, walk in confidence, and rest in that love, knowing you are never, ever alone.